MMOs have gotten by for too long on the fact that they are massively multiplayer. And what we're finding out now is that's not enough. And as MMOs release with broken systems and imperfect gameplay, I believe players are finding that their favorite MMOs no longer offer that which they cannot get elsewhere. Think about it. Name a system from your favorite MMO, and I'll name a non MMO that does it better. All that's left to the MMO is the cooperative raiding and dungeon systems. And it won't be long before someone else does that better too. As MMOs look to regain some of their lost glory and market share, I believe they must embrace the thing that actually makes them special. The next great MMO won't be an MMO at all. It will be the metaverse. I'm kidding. Absolutely, this will not be the case. But rather than lean into an aspect easily mimicked in any genre, the MMORPG must become what it was always meant to be, what it has always played at being. It must be everything. The perfect MMO will not just dabble in a lot of systems, it will strive to be the best at all of them. To attract the masses, this game will need to appeal to all genres at once, taking the building and crafting from survival games, trade and diplomacy from Civilization, raids and dungeons like the best of WoW and Final Fantasy XIV, and massive battles from Total War and action combat borrowed from the best in the business. But that's a lot to say without saying anything. So let's break it down. Many people are looking for their forever game, the MMO they can play for 10 years at a time. And while I have heard some say that this is the wrong way to approach gaming, I disagree. Some have said maybe it's better if players pick up a game for a month or two and move on to something else. But what if that's not what they want? I believe what some players want is a game with tons of horizontal progression that is easy to pick up and difficult to master. They want it to be persistent and permanent so that they never feel like they have wasted their time. They can always return to it and it will be there. Or, rather than pick up a different game for a different experience, they can choose to explore another aspect of this game and it relates to their current character. The problem is, no MMO has attempted to provide this experience in full. But this is where the next big MMORPG can thrive, providing a space where all genres meet and interact. Crafting. The perfect MMO will be built on a framework of crafting and building, much like a survival game. Almost everything will be crafted by players, including the arms required by NPCs, giving even low level crafters someone to sell to. Architects will be able to enter a city builder mode to design settlements and kingdoms with the proper training and required permits. This means most of the cities will be designed by players within certain limitations that are designed to promote immersion. Kingdom Wars. The perfect MMO will allow players to recruit NPCs into their armies, where they will be able to command them from a real time strategy perspective. This will be core to the guild versus guild and kingdom versus kingdom wars. While the commander gives orders from the RTS menu, other players will roam the battlefield like Shadow of War to help turn the tide. Kingdoms will not be self sufficient and therefore require trade and diplomacy between guilds or NPC kingdoms. This would be handled in a civilization style. And while guilds may form alliances in an effort to defeat smaller or singular guilds from rising up to take territory, as alliances grow, resources are depleted and large armies are expensive and resource hungry. It will not be beneficial to form too large an alliance for too long. Questing. Questing in the perfect MMO will have a main quest designed to introduce you to the game and its many mechanics, but it will never force any tutorial on you. Not interested in gathering? The game will inform you the first time that this is intended to introduce you to the mechanic, but you're free to choose an alternate path for that quest step. And subsequently, where it makes sense, players will be able to choose how they complete main quest steps. Once complete, or even while they're still working on it, there will be many side quests available, some as one offs and others as story arcs. Many of these quests will be dynamically generated based on happenings in the world or the local area. That way, you will not have the same experience twice. PvP. Open world, full loot PvP is counter to good multiplayer game design. Open world forced PvP is as well. Therefore, PvP in the open world would be opt in only, and the reward is PvP itself. If you don't like this, it's because you're not into PvP. You're into griefing and you're bad for MMOs. As someone who used to think open PvP was the only way, I understand the arguments for why you might think that. I really do. It just doesn't work in practice. It will always be abused at the expense of other people. For those of us who actually like PvP, there will be arenas where you can test your skill and climb the ladder. 1v1s, 2v2s, 3v3s, etc., depending on the popularity of each queue. If 4v4 isn't played, the queue will go away. And battlegrounds will serve as practice for large-scale wars, offering players who do not get involved with guilds a way to participate in the content. They can also be scheduled between guilds for scrimmages so they can stay on top of their game before any wars. Progression. Perhaps the most controversial point in the mother of all MMOs is progression. This MMO would have no levels, leaving all progression based in each system separately. Rather than start at level 1 and end at level 80, all content would be available to you from the beginning. You will have some individual progress needed to use certain armors and weapons, but the time required to use them would be minimal compared to the time to master them. This MMO would get players up to speed quickly and allow all players to play together regardless of time played. While a veteran may be more capable due to their time in the game, a new player would not be useless, and instead can be taught and armed quickly, while also allowing for alt characters to be immediately interesting to longtime players. As fun an exercise as this has been to think about, a game like this will never be made. It has way too many moving parts. The team and expertise required to meld all of these disparate pieces together would be enormous, and unless I personally oversee its development, I doubt anyone could get it right. I do think this is the natural progression of the MMO, as its original form doesn't seem to hold the drawing power it once did. Instead, the blending of genres into a single game looks like the true destination of the massive online game. I joked earlier that the metaverse would be the perfect game, but the reality is the way the metaverse is talked about makes it sound a lot like this blending of genres, the ability to do anything you want within this alternate world. And while I believe that takes it one step too far, I believe the next big, massive online game will allow a huge variety of ways to play within its confines. So, is this your perfect MMO? If not, why not? And what would you do? Thanks for watching.